all good things must come to an end. On the 15th of March 2019, me and Emma were just over a month into our time in the Philippines. And honestly, we were loving it. We explored Manila, Coron, and travelled right across the incredible island of Palawan. We landed back in Manila where I thought we were catching a flight down to Romblon province. But little did I know, Emma had other ideas. You see, the very next day was my 26th birthday, and Emma had organised a huge surprise without me knowing. Hello. And at this point, I had no idea where we were going. Luckily, Emma had written down some clues for me. 5 cryptic hints on this small piece of paper. You see, there was one country, one place, that we had decided to miss out on. Emma had been there a few years before, and we just couldn't see a way to make it work with our plans, even though it's always been a real bucket list destination for me. But little did I know, Emma had decided to be a maverick, and she booked it anyway. And after spending far too long looking at this final clue, I finally understood where we were headed. We jumped into a taxi at the airport and headed straight over to our hostel. Obviously, it was dark when we arrived, so I couldn't see much of our new surroundings. But everything would be revealed in a few hours' time. It is 4:15 in the morning. And trust me, I would not be up this early if there wasn't a very, very good reason. Today is actually my birthday. Yay! And we have somewhere very special that we need to get to. Full of groggy birthday cheer, we headed out into the morning air, where we got picked up by a private driver. Just before this, Emma gave me my birthday card, which would give away the surprise, so I've blurred it out for now. Before we knew it, we had left the bright lights of town and entered the pitch-black emptiness of the countryside. After about 15 minutes, we arrived at the perfect sunrise spot, just behind this little duck family. And now we wait. You see, standing right in front of us was a real historic icon. A truly mystical place that is famous all around the world. And as the sky started to get a little brighter, we could see our surroundings for the very first time.
We're at Angkor Wat, by the way, in Cambodia. Just in case you didn't notice.
This giant temple complex in the Kingdom of Cambodia is the largest religious monument in the world. 400 acres of intricately decorated temples surrounded by dense and ancient jungle. And we were about to explore it.
The sunrise wasn't the clearest, but I can't think of much cooler ways to start your birthday.
The whole area of Angkor Wat is so big that hiring some wheels is essential. You can spend days and days exploring all of the individual temples that make up the whole site. After the crowds at sunrise, our driver helped us find some of the less visited spots. It's hard to describe the feeling of arriving at some of these spots when you have them all to yourself in the quiet morning light. It really feels like you've ended up in some sort of lost kingdom where you're suddenly the protagonist of a real-life adventure movie.
Just out here, living my best Indiana Jones life.
And this is how we spent the next few days. Our mornings were all about climbing through ancient temples. But afternoons were for relaxing. We spent most of our time in Siem Reap, the main town on the outskirts of the archaeological zone. It's a busy and touristy place, but I really took a shine to it. There's a really friendly atmosphere and some genuine charm around the little side streets. Angkor Wat was originally built as a Hindu temple, but over the years, it was gradually transformed into a Buddhist one. And you can see the best examples of that transformation at Bayon Temple, where you find yourself completely surrounded by huge, calm faces in the rock. Back in 1993, the year I was born, only 7,000 tourists visited the whole site of Angkor Wat, compared to now when crowds can peak at around 2 million.
I feel so conflicted. That was probably the coolest temple I've ever seen, but also by far the busiest. There's so many people in there.
But that's all part of the fun. Trying to find those little pockets of peace just for yourself. And it was something that we ended up getting quite good at. One morning we headed back to that main sunrise spot once again, but this time we didn't wait around with everybody else. We headed straight inside the main Angkor Wat temple itself, which, to our surprise, was completely deserted. It's in moments like this when you can feel the true weight of such a historic place. And from there, we continue to explore once again, heading to even more iconic temples. This specific temple became world famous as a location in the first Lara Croft movie. And it really is amazing to think that this overgrown oasis isn't a movie set at all.
We're just walking towards Ta Prohm, which is an ancient temple dedicated to the goddess Angelina Jolie.
Every evening, we soaked up the Siem Reap nightlife, eating some delicious local food and people watching on the appropriately named drinking street. But we also had time to dive into the local art scene There are some really interesting galleries and theatres on the outskirts of town, which helped us learn more about the history and significance of Angkor Wat, as well as the ancient customs and beliefs of the Cambodian Khmer people. Instead of spending our last evening at the famous temples, we decided to head out into the lesser-known areas of the countryside, where we got to see a very different side of life here. Our driver dropped us off at the base of Phnom Krom Hill, which has a fair few surprises at the very top. Just beyond these Angkor Wat style structures, there was a surreal view over the plains below. I remember thinking that 26 is a pretty strange age. It's not exactly a landmark birthday or one that lends itself to a big celebration. But now, I'll always remember it as the year of my life that started in one of the most amazing places in the world. And I only have one person to thank for that. So that is why we left the Philippines a little earlier than expected, only for us to return pretty much straight away. We spent another amazing month exploring some of the most beautiful islands in the country, but you've already seen those episodes. So next time, we start a brand new series in yet another country made up of thousands and thousands of islands. Welcome to Indonesia.